welcome to another video. In this video today we are going to be coloring with the Brutfuner Macaron Colored Pencils. I just very recently did a review on those. I'll make sure I link it in the upper right hand corner so you could find that. Today we are going to color with them, and my goal here is to see how much depth and dimension I can create with just the pastel colors that come in this set. We have a couple darker colors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be able to create all the depth and dimension that I want to with just some of these darker colors I see here, like this smalt blue or maybe the sax blue or this rose gray, because they still, to me, some of them are what I would probably use for more of a mid-tone. So my plan is for this video to color a flower in Maria Trolle's Nightfall, and I am going to color half the flower just using these pencils. Then after I have used just the Brutfuner Macaron set, I'm going to come in with just one Prismacolor, and I'm going to see if by bringing in that one Prismacolor, a very much darker Prismacolor, to add to these mid-tones and highlight colors that we have here in this set, if that will bring me all the depth and dimension that I need. If you check the description box down below, you'll find down there everything that you've seen in this video, as well as links for my Facebook group, my email list, my Etsy, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. So this is my swatch chart. This is all in color family order. If you didn't see that video, again, that'll be linked in the upper right hand corner. I have this chart available in my Etsy shop just like this, or just with the names and the numbers, all in color family order so that you could swatch out your own colors. And you will find that in the description box down below as well. So this is Maria Trolle's Nightfall. I have a flower here that I've already chosen, and I think I'm gonna do this one here right in the center of the page. Let me start by showing you the initial colors that I chose to start coloring this flower. So here are the colors I have, and I'll show you what they look like here on my swatch chart. I have Cherry Blossom, Rose Pink, Mauve, and I believe I have Rose Gray. I think that's what this is, yep. And then I've got Smalt Blue. I've got a few pinks here. I have this much paler, lighter pink that looks to be more of a corally color. And then I have this Smalt Blue, which is going to add a little bit of contrast. And like I said, I am going to try to add the depth and dimension, or at least a little bit of depth and dimension, just by using the contrasting colors. I am going to start with my Cherry Blossom, and I have beautiful, nice, sharp leads, like I love. This is going to be my lightest color, so I'm just going to lay this color as a first layer anywhere that I think I would want it, or that it'll look nice. Now I have the next color, which is Rose Pink, and I'm going to come in here and just start blending some of this color into that lightest color. And this is really a test to be able to see how much depth and dimension we could actually create with just a pastel set. And I have quite a few colors here, so I'm trying to just go very slowly and watch where I'm laying the colors on each one of these petals, because I want to make sure I leave room for all of these other colors I plan on using. The colors in this set, though, are really beautiful. I've been working with these a whole lot and testing them out prior to doing this video, and I'm really enjoying these pencils. My next pencil I have in my combination here is Mauve. And this one is a little bit contrasting and has more purple in it. So I'm just going to start adding in some of this. And as I do with all flowers, or anytime I'm coloring a flower and I want to create that depth, I like to lay my darker colors where I see a little bit of a pattern or design that the artist has laid down, and also where I see a petal laying behind another petal. But I do have an even darker color, so I don't need to lay too much of this one down in those areas. And I'm really honestly wondering how much depth and dimension I'll be able to create with just the pastel set of pencils. So the only coloring books that I've tried these in so far are Johanna Basford's World of Flowers and this coloring book. And I find that they go down better in these Maria Trolle books They do go down very nicely in the World of Flowers book, but I like them a little bit better on this paper in the Maria Trolle book because I feel like this paper has just a little bit more tooth. So I'm coming in here and laying another layer. This is my rose gray, and now we're getting a little bit darker with this color. And you could see that we're starting to get a little bit more depth here. But the color that I'm really going to use to create most of that depth is the smalt blue that I haven't laid down yet. And then of course I'm going to use the Prismacolor if we need it. We'll see what we could come up with. But I really want to use the Prismacolor in half the flower because I want y'all to be able to see the difference that the Prismacolor actually makes. And not even necessarily just a Prismacolor, but any darker color from any other pencil set. So now I have the smalt blue, and this is the color that's really going to change up the contrast between these colors. And remember, I only have my first layer down here of each one of these colors. But you could see just by adding this color down here, what a big difference it makes, only being the first layer. And these pencils are pretty pigmented and they go down very, very nicely on this paper. And again, you can see that this darkest color is just adding another layer. Of course, I'm going to come back with those other colors I already laid down. Now, if you're coloring something and you just want that beautiful pastel-y look, it really makes something have that beautiful, just like, I don't know, it kind of looks like it has like a watercolor effect when you just use pastel colors, and it's really, really pretty. So if you're someone that likes that look, you may just want to use the pastel set of pencils. Right now, I'm just using a very light touch. I'm not hardly pressing at all or using hard pressure, and you could see that I'm using my pencil on its side, and I'm coming in and trying to add a second layer now with just this color because I want to see how pigmented this color is and how dark I could actually get it to be able to create that depth and dimension. And anywhere I lay this darker color, like we have a petal here and a petal here, so if I lay this darker color over here, I don't want it over here because I don't want them to be right up against one another, because that's what's going to help me to create that separation between the colors. I'm starting to wonder if I will even need that Prismacolor because these are pretty pigmented pencils. You could see that this color is really going down there nicely, and as I come back and add more layers, look how much that color changes and how much darker it gets. See how when I lay this darker color right down here and just go over the outside of this other petal, how it really starts to make these petals separate and sort of lift off the page. Okay, so here in a minute, I'm going to start coming back with my other colors so that we could start to really create that contrast. Okay, so I have my rose gray, and I'm going to come back and start blending some of this color in here. And I would love to hear in the comments below what your style of coloring is. Do you like that watercolor painted sort of look that you can create with colored pencils? Or do you prefer having all that extra depth and dimension? Because I know that we're all different. And as I'm looking at this, I'm wondering if I'm even going to have to bring in the Prismacolor. I mean, I would love to have all that extra depth and dimension because we all know that's my style. I love looking at things or flowers or whatever it is I'm coloring and seeing it just lift and pop from the page. But I know everybody has a different style, and some of us like things to have a different look, and we don't require all that extra added depth and dimension. So you'll have to let me know your thoughts on that. So now I have my rose pink, and we're going to try to brighten this up a little bit. Look how gorgeous that is. Goodness, do y'all think we're going to need a Prismacolor? This is so pretty. I am loving these colors together. And I love the way these pencils look when they're laid down on the paper. They have this sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like a chalky look. I'm thinking I'm going to have to grab something else to create a little bit more contrast in here. And maybe I won't need to grab that Prismacolor for the added depth. I don't know yet. Let me go ahead and get in here and sort of alternate some of these colors here. Let me come back with this rose gray. Oh, look at that contrast, how pretty. Now that's a blend of those two colors and it's gorgeous. Now see when I lay it here how it looks completely different? But when I come back and add this other color over it and it creates that gorgeous blend of those two colors. Oh, how pretty. Now see, that just goes to show you if you just have one colored pencil set and you don't have as many colors, you can just blend the colors together and create a whole nother color. So I think maybe I want to put a blend of those two colors in certain places. Let me do a little bit more of that down here. And look how that color just lays down on that paper so easily and effortlessly. Gosh, I'm thinking that I want to bring something else in that is more of a contrasting color just to add a pop into this flower. I'm getting quite a few layers down here already. And I really love the way that it looks. But I still have like a lot of white space and I'm thinking, what if I added something that was a little bit like, I don't know, like an apricot type color or something that has a little bit of orange in it or like a salmon pink, possibly? Y'all know if you've been watching my videos for quite some time, you know that I start off in one place and end up in another. Again, I want to put a blend of those two colors right there because I think that is so pretty. Oh, y'all have to let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm going to have to add the Prismacolor or do you think I'll get away without it? Let me come in and add a little bit of this cherry blossom and see what that does for it. This one is super, super light. So it's just sort of blending in some of these colors. And I don't know how much more I really want to use this one because I think this really needs a pop of something. So I'm going to set this one aside. I almost think maybe it needs like more purple or more blue. Let me go ahead and come back with the smalt blue. And we're going to start adding in some of this. And look how over these other colors it almost looks like a different color. It looks like a purple in some areas. My gosh, these pencils have the most wonderful blending capabilities. Look at that. Gosh, I don't know if I want to ruin this flower by bringing in a Prismacolor. I'm thinking if I keep working away at this that we might have a gorgeous flower just by the contrast of the different colors that I have in here, the blues and the purples and the purpley pinks and then the pink and then the blend of the colors when I put two of the colors together. And I am starting to use a little bit harder pressure now. Okay, so I turned the book just a little bit so I could come in here and add some more depth and dimension in these other areas here. Let's see what we could do here with these tiny little sections in the center. I'm going to try to create a little bit of contrast using this rose gray, and I'm going to blend it into these other colors just to create a difference in some of the colors so that some of the different petals really stand out. So this color I'm using now is the rose pink. Oh my gosh, I really kind of like this look. I don't know if I'll be able to bring in maybe another color and add a pop of something. And I'm still leaving a lot of white space here because I'm thinking still that I want to bring something else in. I just don't know what yet. I'm thinking like maybe some kind of salmon pink or something, and we do have a salmon pink in this set, but it's very orangey. I'm trying to see what else I could do with just these colors because to me this still doesn't have enough depth and dimension. Let me go ahead and come back with the smalt blue and see what else I can do here. So I'm really just looking at this thinking I either want to come in with a darker color just to add more depth. I mean, it's beautiful the way it is, but it's really not my style of coloring. Like I like to see things really, really pop, and although this has some depth and dimension to it, I almost feel like it just needs something else. Okay, so I pulled my swatch chart out, and looking at this, I don't know, I want to add something that is really going to make this pop. I'm looking at either this pink, this coral, or even apricot, Should we be daring and try apricot? I mean, if I lay it down and it doesn't look good, it's all about experimenting, right? If I lay it down and it doesn't look good, I could always come back and erase it. But I don't know if that is too extreme. So here's our coral, and here's the rose pink. I think I'm going to start off with coral because it has a little bit of a peachy tone to it, or a little bit of orange in it, just like the cherry blossom, but it's a little bit darker, and the cherry blossom just wasn't enough. So let's start there. Okay, so I have the coral. Let's just go ahead and see what this looks like. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's really pretty. It is still kind of close to the other colors though, but I could still see it, and I think it is making a little bit of a difference. I don't know, it makes a difference, but not what I'm looking for. So back to the drawing board. I want something that is just going to go pow. So I'm thinking that I might mix a little bit of this apricot in here. Okay, so let's see if this does what I want it to do. Oh yes, it does. Oh goodness, that's what it needed. Oh, look how pretty that is. Okay, so that is the pop I was looking for. Oh, I love it. And I'm just adding a very little bit. I'm not going to get carried away with this color. I just want little pops of color throughout the flower. Finding that if I use a little bit harder pressure, I've got two values of this color in one space. And that brings me to, that is why it is so important to swatch out your colors. And when you're swatching out your colors, to do a gradient of the colors so you can see the different values you can get from each pencil. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this more and more. How pretty. It's definitely different. Y'all have to let me know in the comments what you thought after I added in this color. All the colors exactly where I want to lay them with just the Brutfuner Macaron set. And I tried to add as much depth as I possibly can. And I brought in that little pop of apricot, which I think just really gave it that pop I wanted it to. And it added a little bit more of contrast. And it has a good bit of depth and dimension and looks very pastel-y. But I know I wasn't sure if I was going to add in a Prismacolor, but I think this will be a really great way to show y'all the difference between having a lot more depth and not having a lot more depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the Prismacolor. I grabbed my dioxazine purple hue. I think I'm saying that right. It is PC 132. And I'm going to use this just to go around and add a little bit more depth. And I think at first I'm just going to do this to half of the flower. So that way you could see the difference between here and here. And I did take a picture of this with my phone before I started to go back over it, because I'm going to try to, at the end of the video, put some kind of comparison in there from what it looks like now and then what it looks like after we add all the depth and dimension. Okay, so I'm going to come in here with this color and I'm just going to start going very lightly, and I'm using the side of my pencil, but I want you all to watch and see as I come in here and add this color how it starts to make the petals sort of lift off the page. And I am going to have to come back and blend it out with the other colors after I get this color laid down here. Already see a huge difference as I continue to add this color. And again, I'm holding my pencil at the side because I don't want to use too much pressure, because this color is rather dark and greatly pigmented, and so I don't want to lay too much of it down on there, but I do want to be able to come back and go over this and blend it in with the smalt blue, because I want y'all to be able to see how these two pencils play together. I think I just am gonna leave this area here. And I think that these little tiny areas here need to be quite a bit darker. Can you already see the difference between this bottom portion of the flower and this top portion? Look at all the added extra depth we've got in here, and it's sort of being lifted off the page, and then all of these areas are much more separated all between the petals. But we've not even yet come back to blend the color out. So I'm going to come back now with my small blue, and I'm going to go in a circular motion, and I am going to blend out all of this darker color I laid down here with the Prismacolor. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to music as I pull this color through and blend it in. Okay, so I have all the colors laid out exactly where I want them, and you could see the difference between this section here and this section here. This is what it looked like when we just had used only the Brutfuner Macaron pencils, and then this is what it looks like after I have added just that one Prismacolor of the darker shade and then came back with the small blue and blended all of that out. Again, I was being really daring with the colors, and these aren't normally colors that I would ever really put together, but I think that I really like it, and I'm going to go ahead and finish off the top of it. And as I finish off the top of the flower, I am going to speed that up to music, and I'm going to do that just so we could see how it comes together as a whole. Okay, so our flower's done. I really love the way that it turned out. And again, I was being really daring by putting some of these colors together, like adding this apricot in to give it a pop. Usually I would choose a yellow, but I didn't want to use yellow this time. But I think it came together nicely. And I don't know how great my editing skills are going to be with the program that I'm using to edit, but I'm going to try to put up a side-by-side right here, or put a picture on the screen of what it looked like previously and now what it looks like at this point, so you could see the difference in what it looks like when you're just using your pastel and the difference it can make if you come back and just pick one darker color from any colored pencil set that you have and add all that extra depth and dimension, because now it really looks like it is just popping off the page. And before I finished it, and it just had the one side where we used the Prismacolor and blended all the colors in, and had the other side where we just had the Brutfuner Macaron pastel pencils, there was quite a big difference, and one side looked much flatter and the other side had a lot more depth and dimension and looked more like it was just popping off the page. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and everything that you've seen me use in this video I will put in the description box below, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.